Hi everyone, Denise from Lost City Knits here. I wanted to show you one of the projects that I'm currently working on. It's the Purity Leaves jumper by our friend Donna Smith. Now this pattern was in the 2020 Shetland Wool Week Annual, and if you have that, you've probably already seen it and went, wow, what a great pattern. So this is not a real complicated pattern, but one of the things that I've done during the knitting of this is embraced one of the techniques that I put off learning about and decided this time is a good use of the knitting backwards technique. So I want to give you a brief demo of that. Ready? Let's knit. So I've got my work in front of me now, and the Purity Leaves jumper has a solid back, but the front is this nice lace leaf motif that Donna has used. And normally, when you're working flat and knitting not in the round, you move things across on the right side with the pattern, you turn your work, and you purl back, and that keeps it in a stockinette base. Now, not being a fan of the purl because it causes the arthritis to flare up a little bit in my left hand, I thought I'd give the knitting backwards a run and see if I could practice and get it pretty good. And I'm okay with it now. I think a little more practice is always needed. But this will give you a quick look at how it works. So the stitches on the right needle will end up on my left needle, and I'm still working on the right side of the fabric. So I'm going to put my left needle tip in, wrap it, and move that stitch off the right needle. So I'm putting the left needle in, moving the yarn over the needle, and process off. I'm going deliberately slow so that you can see it. You know, with a good bit of practice, you can definitely speed this up. So what you can see here is I've got that stitch. I'm keeping it loose for a moment here. So you can see that it sits properly on the needle. The right leg is forward and the back leg is a little bit to the left. So I'm going to snug that stitch up now and do a few more, hopefully a little faster, and see if you can still see what's happening. And of course, trying to speed up means that I'll make a few mistakes. Isn't that the way it usually goes? And I've tried a couple other ways to avoid purling, such as the Norwegian purl, and I found that it to be a little bit more fiddly than this for me, but I really like the way this ends up looking. Now let me get a through the end of the needle. And I'll turn it and show you a little bit of the back. And there's my last stitch. I'm just going to pull it over. There we go. So, that's still on the right side of the fabric. And my tension tends to be pretty good with this when I'm paying attention. Let's look at a little bit of stockinette from the physical back of the sweater. This is up there at the shoulder. But what you can see is there's one row here that looks a little bit loose. If I bend it down here, you can see this. Now that is a knitting backwards row that didn't quite have my gauge as snug as I would like on that. So I do think that will wash out, and when I block it, that should be pretty smooth. Let's see if there's another one there. That is the most common problem that I encountered, was I would get a little bit loose, and my gauge going back would not be quite the same. But I don't see very much of that, just mostly that one row. And as I said, I think that will block right out. The yarn that I'm using for this is a Merino Angora Rabbit from Kemet Croft Fibers in Wisconsin. It's a DK weight in a medium gray, and I've got to tell you, I really love the halo on that, and you can kind of see it right there. Has a nice body and will definitely feel good while wearing it. So there you go. Knitting backwards.